Hey.
Y'all, welcome back to another fabulous episode of the Elly Show. I'm your host, Elly. And y'all make some noise for yourselves and my guests here today. Yes, so today's edition, this is a producer's writer's edition today. And today we have two amazing guests. We have Lina Sisinni and we have Gina Barboza.
Hey.
These are two super producer writers. And I had the pleasure to talk to them and get to know some of their background, and it's pretty interesting, guys. So y'all in for a good treat.
Nice.
All right, so let's just get right into it. How y'all feel?
Great.
It's
Early,
good.
but,
I mean, the little butterflies. This is episode 4, so I just want to keep people in mind. We are still growing and going.
Yes.
All right. So here we go. Let me get into my notes here, and okay. One of my questions is going to be all right. So I want to, because y'all both producers, I want to talk to y'all about and get my audience to understand the difference between a producer, a line producer, a co-producer, executive producer. Any of y'all want to answer that question?
You want to go first?
Sure.
Go for it.
Well, I think like a good way to kick it off is a lot of people ask me what I actually do. Mm-hmm. When someone asks me what does a producer do, I think the easiest way for me to explain it to them is to say I'm essentially a project manager in the world of television and film.
Okay.
So we put out a lot of fires. It's our jobs to make sure that everything that is needed in order for a production to take place is in place prior to the day of. And then during all of that, we are overseeing not only logistics, but also creative.
Okay.
And so if there's a problem, we're the folks that you come to.
Okay.
And then, I don't know if, Jimmy, you want to jump in, but, you know, there's sort of a lot of different kinds of producers, and I think we both have functioned in a bunch of those roles over the years. Yeah.
Yes. You know, it isn't a one-hat-fits-all type thing. You know, I've worked in roles where I'm a field producer. That means we literally went out on the field.
Right.
And we're there to make sure, you know, all the logistics are run smoothly, that the creatives have what they want. Sometimes you are the creative. Sometimes you have to jump in and, you know, start asking questions, especially if it's a non-scripted. You want to make sure that you meet schedule.
Right.
Then I've been an executive producer, where that means you're probably the person with the money, not me physically. It could be the network that I represented. And, you know, now we're just kind of like, we hire the producers to be there to come up with their concepts and ideas. And then, you know, and then like she was saying, I've done mostly production management roles where you are managing the entire project for a line producer. Now the line producer is pretty much like an accountant almost. They're the ones that really know, okay, the executive producer has $3 million, you know, and literally I have $3 million to do this entire film. As a line producer, that person's going to budget it all out. Okay. And he or she may or may not share that with me if I'm a unit production manager or a production manager. They're just going to tell me to stay in budget. Right. And, you know, this is how much you have to even feed the crew. So everything depends. Now, I'm an independent producer of my own company, and when I'm creating content, that makes me the EP because it's my company, and I'm creating it. So it really depends. The role changes a lot, but it just really depends on the job.
Okay. All right. Well, you answered that question. Lina, going back to you.
Yeah.
You graduated from what school?
A few.
Okay.
I like school. I love school, actually, I should say. I love school.
Same.
So if I get the chance to go back, I'm like, sign me up.
Yeah. You went to school for being a producer?
I did, but it was not sort of my first stop on the way. So I actually started my undergraduate schooling at the University of Miami.
Okay.
And I was studying broadcasting. And then, I'm not even going to lie to y'all, I transferred 2 years later because of a boy.
Okay.
Let's just be real. I had a crush and I was going to make it happen. And I transferred to the University of Pittsburgh, which I loved. This is my alma mater. And I studied communications, there as well.
Okay.
I had a minor in English.
Okay.
And then I went to graduate school at the University of Denver, their publishing institute. I was very interested in becoming a writer-editor.
Okay.
And I went and actually worked in the publishing industry for several years, but I always had this love and desire to get back into television, and I kind of was avoiding it because it didn't feel practical, and I have very practical parents.
Okay.
And a practical Caribbean mother who said, you know, maybe try something else.
All right.
And eventually it was just the right time, and I knew I needed to kind of like take the leap. So I enrolled in UCLA's program in producing television and film.
Wow.
And so I ended up in LA, and I was lucky enough to get work after I finished the program. And so I stayed in LA, and I was there for almost 9 years.
Ooh.
And just recently came back to the East Coast. So.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
That's big.
Told you it was a lot.
Yeah. What about you, Gina?
Oh, wow. So I went to Johnson & Wales in Providence, Rhode Island. I'm originally from Massachusetts. I was majoring in fashion because I wanted to be a buyer in New York. Sadly, a cousin of mine was murdered during that time, and so I only got my associates. I didn't finish. And I was already working in retail, so I was like, why did I go to school for this? It was a waste of my time. My English, not that it isn't, but I think if I would have went to be a buyer in New York like I wanted to, then I would have been happier because I still love fashion to this day. And so shout out to Elly Show, one of my favorite designers. And not that I'm wearing his clothes today, but you know, representing Balance and Axe. But I ended up moving to LA in '92, and I was going to LA Pierce College. I was going to finish and get my bachelor's, but then I got the job working at Death Row Records, and I was that was a school that I just was like, okay, school or money. And I've been on my own since I was 16, so it's not like I had the luxury of staying with my parents, you know. So long story short, I am now at Georgia State University, I graduated. Shout out to my Panthers. All right. And I am class of 2023. Okay.
I
graduate in
Y'all
December.
make some noise for that, man.
I'm getting my bachelor's in film and media with a minor in theater. The first time I ever started acting was last year to learn how to direct actors, and then I'm going to go on to get my MFA in film, and so I can be a director.
Ooh, wow.
So it's never too late. And my oldest daughter is a freshman at Georgia State, and the baby just got accepted there. So we all three of us at GSU.
That's amazing. Okay, and you started as a PA as well? Or?
Yes. You know, I was in retail for a long time, and my best friend moved to LA, and we loved the beach. We used to sleep at the beach back home. I have salt water in my DNA from my family's from Cape Verde. Nice. And I stepped out on faith. I moved to LA in '92, and I wanted to get out of retail, so I got the job working at Death Row Records. I had to escape Death Row. That's a story that I'll take to my grave. And was working for legendary actor-director Bill Duke, and I was his assistant, but he's like, if you're gonna learn production, you really need to like work in the trenches. And so shout out to all my PA brothers and sisters, you know, on the hustle, and learning all the protocols, set etiquette, etc. Helped me to get to where I am today.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, same. I mean, PA's
what's that life like?
PA life? Yeah. I wasn't in it long, but you know, PAs really do, like, major shout out to PAs. They make the production run, they get you through your day, and we're so grateful for like everything that they do. A good PA is worth their weight in gold. Yes. The sad thing is that good PAs don't stay PAs for very long. Okay. Yes. Because that talent is generally recognized and they get to move up, and rightfully so. But I did start as a PA. I got again very lucky. I had a friend of a friend of a friend who needed help. And offered me a PA gig on a show that he was doing. They were doing a show at the Greek Theater, and I kind of caught the bug. And then from there, I was hired as a coordinator. And so after, you know, putting some time in and some hustle, I got to become a coordinator. And then from coordinating, I, you know, really kind of, it became clear to me that I wanted to work more on the creative side. And so anytime I had the opportunity, when it was appropriate, of course, I would let the other producers know. I'd say, hey, you know, I'm really interested in working, doing what you're doing. Like, can I shadow you? Would you be willing to hire me as an AP on your next project? You know, let me know if you need somebody. And you know, by the grace of God and some good luck, you know, I got hired and was able to work my way up. Yeah,
they saw your passion, and because I don't know if is it always that opportunity for PAs to.
I think it depends. I mean, I have had wonderful mentors in my life, in particular women who have just really like reached their hand out and said, hey, like I'm here to help you take this step up and willing to give you that time. There are producers and executive producers who will say to you at the beginning of a shoot, you know, we're really collaborative, we're open to hearing ideas, and if let us know what you want to do, and if there's a way for us to get you there, we're going to help you. And there are people who are not quite so generous. And so you really have to kind of work and put in the time, and eventually you do get to meet those people. And I think anybody who has the desire, the passion, and who's willing to honestly put in the hustle, it's all about the hustle, really. It's like, if you are grinding, people will notice.
Yes, I always tell this one PA story when I sit on panels, and that was of this young man that when I was an executive at Turner Broadcasting, we were doing a promo shoot with Kira Sedgwick from The Closer. And we were in LA, and the PA was with me, and I said, can he get you anything? And she's like, yeah, can you get me cold ease? And he goes, yes, no problem, I'll have him right away, no problem. And we walked away, he goes, what's cold ease? And I said, I will hire you on every job. Every single job. I mean, because that's that's, you know, we call it PA 101 is don't say, I'm not sure, I don't know. Like, you'll just say, I'll get back to you. Like, I'll figure it out. And then they'll ask somebody else. And the other thing, too, like what she was just saying, is that you can't go on set with an agenda. You got to really fill out what the producers are like. And if they are collaborative, that, you know, at least, you know, have some really good work ethic so that they can see that. So they can be like, hey, what else do you do? Because that's what I've had happen to me as well.
That's awesome. Okay. So that leads me to my next question. As far as being a producer, what kind of, like, because y'all know about the writer's strike that's going on now, what kind of protection do you guys have? Like, as far as, like, I know, like we talked before, it's a producers guild, so there's no union for producers, right? So what kind of, like with the writer's strike that's going on now, are y'all affected by that?
I think it's to be seen as to whether or not, I work in unscripted primarily, so I'm an unscripted producer, and the majority, I would say, of unscripted television, not all, but the majority of unscripted television are non-union productions. And so because of that, you know, we don't necessarily see the same ramifications that scripted shows will. Obviously, we stand in solidarity with our WGA colleagues and hope that things get worked out. But TBD, basically, as to whether or not the reality world will be affected and in what ways. But that said, as far as, you know, you were asking about protections for producers, as you mentioned, there isn't a traditional union for producers. We have a guild, and so I am a freelance producer and I am a non-union person. I don't have the option of joining the existing unions, and so we don't have the same protections. And so there's no collective bargaining on our behalf. We negotiate as individuals when we go into a project. We're hired generally as either independent contractors, or you're hired on to payroll for whatever production company you're working for the duration of the show that you're on. So yeah, we don't get insurance. We don't have a pension. You know,
so when you do your negotiation, you budget that in for yourself.
Exactly. So you are a one-man band, and you have to figure out, you know, how much you need to set aside for your health insurance and how much you need to set aside for savings and all of those things. And that's something that you need to take care of on your own, at least at this point in time.
I didn't never know that. Wow.
Yeah, and sometimes you can loan yourself out. Like, I loaned myself out from Balancing Acts.
What does that mean?
that means Gina Barboza works for Balance and Acts Entertainment. I am loaning her out from Balance and Acts.
Wow, okay.
Because then they pay Balance and Acts.
Okay.
Not my name, it'll be my company. So
right.
there's not a lot of companies will do that though, but
Okay.
in the past I've been able to do that. I'm also a freelance producer, but the writer's strike, because I am also a screenwriter and signed my first contract as a screenwriter last year, we had to we were already at the act 3 and kind of at the end of stage of it, so we kind of put a halt on it. I'm not in the union, or the guild rather, for Writers Guild or the PGA, but we still collectively as people in the industry try to look out for our brethren, I guess, and support. But I was also pitching scripts before the strike, and so the emails had to stop as well, man. And we'll just see what happens and pray.
Oh man, so that does affect you guys in some capacity. Okay.
And not to mention favorite shows. My daughter's got me on Abbott Elementary. It's so good. The writing is amazing. Yeah. And it's kind of like a black version of The Office. It's really, well, not, there's other characters in there, but it's so dope. But now there's no writing. So any of those shows that we love following that in real time.
Yeah, it's
Stop.
Yeah. Ouch.
So it hurts as a viewer even.
Yeah. Well, I hope they get their solutions and things taken care of, because we don't want shows to stop.
Yeah, you just find other things to do, in my case, crochet.
Right. You crochet?
Yeah.
What?
Follow Wrapped Up Boutique.
Okay.
That came from a side hustle of...
Wow. When did
I'm
you
a workaholic.
find time?
I'm a workaholic.
How do you find time?
When you have to watch videos. Well, when I was younger, growing up, I moved to Boston, which is an hour from my hometown. And I used to, I think I was 18, managing a top men's clothing store. It was called Chess King back in the day. Show you how old I am. But I started learning how to knit because I was if anybody messes with me on a train, I'll just gank them with my needle. So the needles were my weapons. Right. And no one's going to bother an 18-year-old girl sitting there doing it. A scarf. Yeah. They're going to be like, oh, this little old lady, I think, So it was it came out of that. And my love for fashion got me to think about I'm doing a whole bathing suit line.
Oh, wow. So that's awesome.
Yeah, that's all why you're doing a million other things.
What about you? You
what outside of free time? Oh boy. Listen, as producers, the one thing that I think we're always short on is sleep.
Yes.
Okay, wow.
These bags are
so.
When they say secure the bags, I'm been there, done that.
No, I do love a good nap, but no, I like to work out and try and kind of get back into my body. We spend a lot of time on set, and I'm a film producer, and I also work in post. So when we're in the field, we're sitting in very cramped quarters in weird positions, wherever we're not basically bothering the camera. In a documentary style shoot, it's kind of run and gun, right? So the cameras are all over the place, so we're hiding in corners. I have been in closets, in a bathroom, under a car. Right. So your body gets put to work. So it's good to kind of, when you're not at work, just make sure that it's strong and healthy and all that good stuff. Yeah. So I do a lot of walking, I do a lot of working out. I like to take the dogs for a walk. And, hang out. And I read a lot. I read all the time. Me too. Anything I get my hands on. If I'm not reading physically, I'm listening to a book on Audible. We're kind of story junkies. I mean, that's what we do. I think a lot of us got into this business to tell stories, to help tell stories. Right. And so I want to hear stories too. Yeah. So I'm ingesting them any way I can get them. And obviously podcasts, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Okay.
Especially the Elly one.
Yes.
I'm the same way. It's so funny. I never thought about that because I grew up in the library and we just love books. We love stories. I'm still old school. I like books. Yeah. I want physical books, not the ones online.
Not the ones online. Yeah.
I like the smell.
Yeah. Turn the pages.
Yeah. It's still there. And I do yoga. It helps me. I'm a workaholic. I always say my name is Gina. I'm a workaholic, and I definitely I need the yoga and meditation to kind of keep me calm.
Yeah. Okay. Yo, how long you been doing yoga?
I've been, as my daughters say, I've been doing it forever, but literally I started to really focus on it after doing my mental health doc, because I interviewed these brothers from the Holistic Life Foundation in Baltimore, and shout out to them. They've been doing amazing stuff with kids like who suffered from trauma, like the kids from the Freddie Gray riots.
Right.
And unfortunately, those of us that grow up in violent, verbal, physical, abusive homes like I did, we still have to go home to that. So what they taught the kids to do was take a breath.
Okay.
And they do mindfulness and yoga actually in the schools in Baltimore.
Really?
And when I interviewed them, they changed my life, because I realized I was that kid. And from there, I just not only started to, I found Boho Beautiful Life, which is online. It's like a really cool hippie couple that have been doing it for years and share their experiences. I started doing it online. I lost 20 pounds because I had gained a lot of weight after my father died of cancer. And it was just helping me get through all of my own personal journey. And so I started yoga teacher training online, which I'll be certified in for kids dealing with trauma.
That's awesome.
So,
Y'all make some noise for that. That's awesome. Wow.
So, use your pain for purpose. That's my motto in life.
Use your pain for purpose. That should be a t-shirt.
Yes, it will be, because I just bought a t-shirt thing, so I don't have to keep paying all the money.
Yeah.
So everything's a hustle. I put my brother on it. I sent him the YouTube videos. We got the presser for the hats, the gloves, coming to a Instagram near you.
Nice. Yo, speaking of hustle, going back to the producing side, do you guys get residuals?
No, we do not. We do not get back end. We do not get residuals.
No.
We get paid while we are working on the. Oh yeah, it's pay to play. We're working on the show, and when the show wraps, we are done.
That's
Did you know that? That's interesting.
Unless you created it, and even then, there's some things with that too. Like, if you're the creator, and back there was like with syndication, there's just a lot of different things back, before, but it's totally different. It's why you want to own your own IP, and a lot of us don't. Like I come from the music industry, working with Suge Knight. It's crazy as things could be there at times. The thing I learned there was about owning your own masters. It's the same thing with your content, your writing content. You want to, we're so quick to get that quick money, but we don't own any damn thing.
Right.
And it's amazing that you got this turtle as a symbol on the table today, because I live my life that way. It's a turtle who wins the race.
Yeah.
And so you really have to think about ownership and legacies for your kids. I'm a mom, but I'm the first person in my family to go to college, and so we don't have that luxury. We got to eat, and we got to go from job to job. But in the meantime, like we're both doing, we're creating our own dreams in our pockets of our homes, and praying that we can get, I've been writing for years, and just those scripts have been stacking up until I can get in there and get it, have some ownership of my own content, because it is my story. That it's my stories are infused in there, even if it's different in different facets. So you should have some ownership of that.
Right. That's important. Wow. So when you go into having ownership, do different companies look at that as a good thing, or is it?
So it's tough to sell a show.
Okay.
So in terms of shows, so I think what Gina and I are both currently working on writing and working on our own stories, and taking steps to do that. For years, for the last decade of my life at least, I've been focused on helping other people tell their stories, right? And that's what you do in documentary television and in film. And it's amazing and it's wonderful, but your own stories often get pushed to the side during it. Like you said, you're hustling, you need to work, you need to eat, you need to pay your bills. So, it's not easy to kind of set aside that time often. You can, within the realm of reality TV, it is possible, and I have some really creative, brilliant friends who are currently developing shows and coming up with concepts and pitching them to networks and pitching them to production companies. But the difficulty there is, even if you have a great idea, if you go to a network, unless you have specific talent attached, for example, something that cannot be replicated, there's no reason that a network can't say to their own internal development team, hey guys, we got this pitch, come up with something similar,
Yes,
right? And then
yes.
create it on their own. That way they
That
don't
has
have to
happened
come
to
out
me.
of pocket.
Wow.
That has definitely happened to me.
And pay for the IP from somebody else. And so it's definitely doable. I don't want to discourage anybody who's, you know, pitching shows. It gets done and it happens, and people come up with great concepts, and the
Right.
shows get made.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a long road, and it's a lot of work. And if you don't have a way to support yourself during that process, it can get really tough. You know, you need to kind of keep working during that. So yes, it's, I think, really important for people who do care about creating legacy, or who care about telling their own stories, to find a way to create your own thing, whatever it is. So write your book, write your script, you know, develop your deck and develop your show and pitch the heck out of it, but make sure that it is, you know, ironclad, that it's registered with WGA, that you have talent attached, that is, and that, you know, you've got them locked down and all of those things.
It's covered.
But yeah, find a way, and it's doable, and find a way to tell your own story and you know, make it happen. But
And I also want to add to that, you know, coming from the network side for 17 years as an executive for TNT and TBS, I was used to that big money, this is the way that you do it. When I got laid off in 2014 and had to really go all in on Balanced and Acts Entertainment, everything changed the way I thought. And I learned that from independent people that were already in the field that I used to hire. So with social media, you know, the days of, even with the music industry, of worrying about being distributed is like totally different now. You can go straight to Amazon Prime. You can go straight to a lot of these streaming networks, but you also have to have that funding to market it and promote it so that people know that it exists. And you should, like what she was saying, you should still have talent attached. So you can totally cut out the middleman and own and try to find ways. It is a little bit harder because you don't have the machine around you, but even with that machine, you're still getting funneled into a billion different shows that are out there.
Right.
So, you know, like for me, you know, with social media, you think about who's following you, and those, like in my day at Turner, are the eyeballs.
Yeah.
Those, I already have my built-in eyeballs, right? So what am I feeding my followers? What am I sharing with them that I feel good about, that's conducive to my spirit, that I want to put into my content when I create? And I created a show like years ago. As a matter of fact, we shot some of it in two studios down here, and I pitched it to a network. It was called A Body in Business. It's about women. I mean, I had strippers in it. I had women who, at the time when the Insta fame, all these models that were coming out the gate, my thing was, what are you going to do after the clubs? What are you going to do after the gram? And how can I put people that I know in position so you can empower yourself to become something else, or flip that money? Because, you know, I'm from the hood, so, you know. But two of the dancers that were in there, I pitched it to some of my connects, Hollywood producers that I know, and one of them called me like 2 weeks later, the dancer, and said, "Hey, we got called by these producer company in LA to do a show." The two dancers, the same two dancers, to do a different show.
On your show.
To do a different show that was on the same vibe.
Yeah.
So they literally saw the sizzle that I did, like those two girls, and went and sought them out to do something
Similar to what you were already doing.
Yes. But you know, I always say God doesn't sleep. I literally was like little poolside at like Beverly Hotel one time, or Beverly Hills, whatever it is, and with some friends, and the producer was sitting next to me. That did that to me.
Wanting to use the girls?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I said, "Oh, hello.
Right.
Let's talk." You know, so it's like the show never happened, but at the same time, he was like, "That's the nature of the business. You do have to be careful, or try to find ways to put it out yourself."
Yeah.
You know.
Copy that.
And social media is, I mean, it's awesome in that regard. Like, people are creating content, micro content, you know, full length content, and at least there's a way for like the every man, every woman to kind of get their stuff out there.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a good.
Like Issa Rae did, you know. But then the networks will call you.
Yeah.
So, you know, I always tell music artists that, like, you know, get out there and you know, create your own buzz.
Yeah.
Don't wait for the machine to give you, to create what your talent already is. They're going to change you. They're going to change you. You know, you may not be, like when Indie first came out, nobody was checking for that. They were like, that was empowerment. What's this? Give me Little Kim. And then all of a sudden it was like, wait a minute. Oh, Indie.
Yeah.
You know, so now there was a whole following with that. Like, stay true to your craft, and the time will meet you. You know what I mean? Where you're at, you just gotta stay. You gotta stay patient. I used to have no patience, so much that my mentor said, oh, "You should name your first kid Patience because you don't have any." So trust me, that didn't come overnight.
Did you name your first child Patience?
No. It's Sasha and Mariah.
That's awesome.
I thought about it though. I was like, no.
Well, let me ask you then, Gina, being a parent, how do you juggle that?
Ooh, you know, by the grace of God, I say, first of all, I'm blessed to be one. I know that's not the case for everybody. It is the hardest job that you will ever have to deal with, you know, and, you know, the kids can hate you at one point and you still manage to love them, and it teaches you patience. When I was at Turner Broadcasting, I was still married at the time, and, you know, my ex-husband was very busy, but we had the beautiful blessing of my mom. My mom, I got divorced, and my mom became like my co-parent, you know. When I was going on shoots, you know, my mom held it down. Sally, my mom, got cancer, and she passed away in 2011. So I had to also restructure my job at Turner Broadcasting, and I did the hardest thing ever, and that was to take the production part off my title. Because then I wasn't going to have to go on the road. That's what caused me to get laid off, though, because I was licensing all of his music. I was making 6 figures. I did production too, but once I took that off the wheel, it was like, but I would do it again in a heartbeat because my real thing was outside there. But once my mom passed, then it was like, you got to find your tribe. There's other mothers that you trust. They're single parents. My girls went to a great school, and all their schools are great. And we had some co-parents with that of mothers that they were friends with. But you it's like with COVID, you figure out a way to figure out how to maneuver it. You know, you work around them, and that's why I'm in school late in life, because I put them first. I wasn't going to go back to LA when they were babies. I wasn't going to go to film school then. I wasn't going to go and and I got a 4.12, y'all. Like I was not messing around with my GPA when I came back, but I would have never been able to do that when my girls are babies. They're 18, about to be 19, and 17, about to be 18. But that's the sacrifice you got to make. You know, a friend of mine told me that you can't do it all, and I'm like, what do you mean? Yes, I can. You know, something's going to suffer. And she was right. You know, when you start seeing things with your kids go wrong, and you're like, damn, that's because I was so busy. And I remember actress Demi Moore did that when her mother died. She quit acting for her kids. And you do have to make those sacrifices for later, you know, which pays off, so you can grow to decent human beings in the world. So you figure it out. You definitely figure it out. I mean, you write it out. You lose a lot of sleep because you may not do your dream till late at night, which you hear authors that were stay-at-home moms. I think Danielle Steele was one of those, you know, where she took care of her family all day, and then when they went to sleep, then she was writing. So you balance and act.
Liana, you got furry babies.
I do, and you know, it's tough on any relationship, I think. I can only imagine being a parent on top of everything else. I just, like, as a young woman, kind of had to make choices about what my life was going to look like in order to work in this industry. And that meant you know, putting things off until later, sacrificing certain things, you know, thinking about when and how is the right time to start a family. Can I do that? For me, for example, I was working in the field primarily, and I still am, but at a certain point I realized that if I wanted to have children or want to have children in the future, I need something that's going to allow me to be home.
Right.
And there are only certain jobs within the industry that allow you to at least be home for a certain period of time. There are those sort of unicorn 9-to-5 jobs, but those are really hard to come by. I had one once, it was great, but you know, COVID kind of put an end to that. Talk shows tend to be that way. You kind of get to go and come back.
Yeah.
But post-production was an area that opened up to me, which was of great interest, and it's wonderful because you not only then get to see the work that you've done in the field sort of turn into this cohesive, amazing story, but you also get to work either in an office or come home. So, you know, those are things that you have to do. You have to like retrain yourself. You have to learn a new skill. You have to do something different in order to sort of figure out how to make living at home work. And my parents will tell you, my friends will tell you, my partners, you know, my previous partner will tell you, it's a lot. We're gone a lot. Even when we're home, we're oftentimes distracted. Producer's phone never is off. It's off now, but that's rare. You know, you take phone calls when they come in, you answer texts. You know, you're not the person that can plan a girl's trip 6 months in advance because you don't know what the production schedule is going to look like. Can I come to your wedding? I don't know. Maybe. I'll try.
Can I celebrate Thanksgiving? I don't know.
Maybe. Don't know. But yeah, so you're like, you know, you're constantly, you pay extra for the last minute plane ticket. You're the last one to book the hotel. Like,
oh my gosh.
Your gift is coming via Amazon. Like, it's...
That's amazing.
So I find myself not so much apologizing. I will say like there was a point in my life where I would apologize and say I'm so sorry, and now it's just more of a, you know what, this is what I chose, and I love it, and I love my job, and I think it was the right choice for me at the time. So thank you for your patience. Now I'm at a different point in my life where I have the you know, great opportunity to do both the work in the field and in post-production. So I get to be home quite a bit. And so now I get to be present for the people in my life that I care about, and for my dogs, and for my friends and family. And it's great, but it was definitely a hard road to get here, and something that wasn't available to me immediately as I sort of entered the world of production.
Got you. So no regrets, right?
No. I mean, there's a high to it. I hate to, you know, it's a high. Like, you'll get all of these emails and you're nonstop, and then if you're writing, then you're in your head writing, and people are looking at you, and you're like, I know you're there, but I'm writing, and they don't know that. And then, you know, once it wraps, it's like you have to detox off of it for a bit, because now all of that. You know, like when I supervised Tyler Perry's last film, you know, we were everywhere. We're doing this, we're doing that. I had people from 6 a.m. to I couldn't sleep calling me with problems. That was part of my job to solve, and then it's nothing. It's like crickets, you know, for a minute, and then you find something else, you know. But you have to learn how to enjoy that. And I've gotten to a place where I explain. You know, like I'll have friends that say, hey, like she was saying, I can't go to things. And I'll say, hey, listen, I'm really not going to be free till, they're like, can you have time for coffee? And I'm like, yeah, like June 8th. You know what I mean? So I'm like, just so you know, I'm doing this. I'm not ignoring you. I don't want to explain to everybody, but the people I care about, I do let them know, like, hey, I'm like literally trying to get my mental health doc all of May. I'm busy. I think when Dee called me to do this, I'm like, is it me that you really need? Because, you know, I'm literally like, May, I locked myself in my room, and I was like, I got to do this. And part of that is saying no to things that you really want to do. I don't regret being here today, but I was like, unless you really don't need, if you really need me, I'll be there. But you have to get to that place. You have to get to that place. I learned that from Dr. Dre, and I learned that from Russell Simmons back in the day. I'll say Dr. Dre because I know Russ has some stuff going on. Focus. Focus. And I used to do like 50 million projects, and then nothing gets done. So you gotta, now that I've gotten older, it's like I literally schedule out my time, but I make sure that I keep that door open where I'm not all day, because I do have daughters that need to be there, if they need me. They don't really need me when they need me. I got to be able to be flexible. Otherwise, I'm getting an attitude because you're interrupting my time that I'm trying to be creative. And especially now that we've had to work from home more with COVID, So to eliminate that angst and that anger and going off, because I'm such a mental health advocate, I do say, hey, this is what I'm doing for a little while, and I know if you really need me, text me. Even if you're in the other room, text me. And then when I have that mental, like that time to like pay attention, I want to focus. And I did that to my daughters when they were little.
Really?
You know, mommy's gonna be on a call for like with this person, so this is the time that I need you to be like my little assistant and not like, and make sure like you don't bother me, you know. Not, otherwise you're like, get out, and then they're like, what the hell? Why is she being so mean to me? You know? And I did that too. I ain't gonna lie, I ain't gonna front. But I had to figure out a way to not hurt their feelings. So it's the same thing, just older version of it.
Wow, that's awesome. So, you guys currently writing on anything right now, or any projects?
Yeah, I'm working on a project. I'm actually taking off to Europe. To work on it.
Wow, that's big.
To Italy.
Y'all make some noise for that. Well, I've never been.
For the first time in my career ever, you know, because it is a grind and we're constantly looking for the next job because we're, like we said, we're gig employees, and when one show ends, the other one begins, or you hope another one begins. I've been in that hustle and in that space where I've just been not willing or not really able to say, I'm just not going to work for a little bit. Like I'm going to take some time for myself. And so after 10 years of helping everybody else figure out how to tell their stories, I decided it was time to start writing some of my own. So I have a couple of projects that I started writing, and I'm going to just take off for a week and workshop the projects and kind of hold myself up in a farmhouse out somewhere in the countryside.
Very under the Tuscan sun.
Yeah, and
eat, pray, love.
Pretty much. Eat, pray, right.
Love will come next trip.
Definitely the eat part.
Right.
While we're writing. But yeah, so I'll be working on a couple of projects out there and just taking some time for myself.
That's awesome.
And even if, you know what, like it's one of those things where like you hope that at some point those projects get legs and become something else. But even if it's just to go and be creative, and spend time in that headspace and do it for yourself. I'll be glad of that, and I'm really excited to do it. And I, you know, would encourage everybody else to kind of do the same thing. It's important to take time for yourself, and your story is important. And even if you think it's not, you know, even if you think you sort of live a mundane life, everybody has a story to tell. I always say that. And so take the time and write it down. And also, like one of the projects that I am working on is they're not just my stories. There's stories of my family and the stories of my grandparents. And so I also encourage people to like talk to the people in your life. Write your family stories down. Write your family histories down.
Because people don't do that no more.
Good or bad.
And oral traditions are really important. And I think, you know, we tell the stories a lot to one another at family gatherings, and we talk about our great-grandfather, we talk about our great-grandmother, but you know, at some point somebody should write them down and tell them. So
that's right.
Do that. Talk to your elders and write down their stories.
That's right. Y'all hear that? Talk to your elders.
Why you have them.
Why you have them here,
That's actually the first feature film I did write, is on my family. It's not a good one though, but sometimes you got to tell those stories, not outing it, so that other people can benefit from the pain. I'm a writer who heals, a healer who writes. So that's even if it's about the music industry, there's still a message in there. And I over COVID, I had this script for a long time. We did a table read on it, and then over COVID, I wrote like three more. I finished one, and then I wrote two others.
The project you're working on now, the mental health?
No. Well, no. These are just feature films that I wrote that I was pitching before all of this stuff just happened. And then I got hired to co-write a film. Somebody was already on the film, and they wanted somebody of ethnicity to be on it. And they the subject matter related to the kind of like the film I just did for Tyler Perry, but on the producer side. So that's why my name popped up. They didn't know I was writing as well, which was great because it got me in there. And so we together, he and I have been writing and finished it. And there's an executive producer involved because it's his story and somebody that passed away's story. So again, it's still a personal story, but it's based in the West End, Atlanta. So there's a lot we've been meeting with, like we met with City Hall because it's a great thing for Atlanta as well because it's a story based out of Atlanta that we want to shoot in Atlanta. again, as a writer, we may or may not be involved because they could just take it and go to the next thing, which is why I'm going back to school to direct.
Okay.
Because, you know, as like I said earlier, to own your own property, you might want to have more stakes in it, even from a positioning of it. So that's why I also want to learn I've been directing documentaries. I've done unscripted, I've directed those, but I want to do features. And so I am going back as twofold. I want to have the MFA to direct, and my old lady plan is to be a professor to give back all the gems that I've been blessed with to students.
Okay.
But so
That's
there's
awesome.
that, and then the mental health documentary came after my father, and I had to write a script for that, you know, dealing with my father's mental illness and my quest and journey for answers to help him, and then it turned into helping my brother, and then made me, you know, get on the road. I also shoot. I have my own cameras, which I learned after,
That's
you know,
awesome.
leaving, you know.
That's awesome.
And so we all, and Luz Damien was with us, and we blessed us with his great crisp sound.
That sound. Atlanta
and
sound, man. Playback.
I like her. I love documentaries. I love stories that search and seek for answers to help others find those answers, or at least expose the issues, you know. And
That's
so
amazing.
I those are great too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Wow. You guys, y'all covered some stuff. Let me ask y'all this one. This is just an off the wall question real quick. AI. Are y'all afraid of that?
Oh gosh, I talked about this
I
on the
am.
piano.
I'm afraid of that shit.
Yes.
A lot of you.
So it's crazy because I just talked. I was at the Atlanta Film Festival. I spoke on a panel on behalf of at Georgia State. They have a program. It's the Lonzo. I'm gonna say it wrong, but what they do is they help kids from 18 to 24 learn the film industry, even though they're not students at Georgia State.
Okay.
So like one of the PAs that worked for me on Mr. Perry's film was in that program.
Okay.
And he didn't graduate. I love it. I was at GSU, didn't know about it until one of my brothers, shout out to Adele Henderson, who used to run King Magazine. He is in, they're together on this organization. And they brought me in, but we brought up AI. Now, ironically, the day before, my brother Seg, So Gorilla Film, shout out to my bro Seg, he goes, sis, what do you want right now? Just say it. And I said on speaker, give me a business plan for my daughter's eyelash business. Her name is Mariah, and like in 5 seconds,
Oh,
a
snap.
business plan. But it's only like 3 or 4 pages. Then I was like, testing it for other things. Let me get my resume. Do a bio on me. This is what I love. Best bio ever written on me from AI. But you know, so we started getting scared. Like, wait a minute. I mean, in a matter of 30 minutes, I had 6 things done.
Wow.
That would cost me fortune. But here's the thing, and I said this at the panel because some of my producer friends too are like, oh, you know, because what just happened with the Drake song and all of that. You can never ever put the soul of who we are. You
Thank
can't
you.
fake that.
Thank you.
You know what I
Thank
mean?
you.
And you cannot get afraid of who you are at the core.
Thank you.
They can
Yep.
recreate me. They could be a Gina AI person sitting
Yep.
next, but she will never have what's in
That's
in
right.
the root of my soul.
That's right.
She will never have the creative juices that run through me.
Right.
The blood, sweat, and tears, the hustle
Right.
mentality.
Right.
Never. You can't fake that. So
Right.
they could do it all day and try to make, you know, what's sad is the jobs that could be lost.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why I do encourage this next generation to make sure you're learning the technology.
Yeah.
But I'm from the old school, so I'm not going to worry about all of that. I'm still
Yeah.
going to keep creating content that is conducive to my spirit, like I said
Yeah,
earlier,
yeah.
and not try to fit the format and fake the funk. They did the same thing with Napster when that came
Yep,
out.
I remember when Napster
And then
came
everybody
out,
was
yeah.
panicking, and I was, even at Turner, I was like, yo, we should be putting this content online. And they're like, no, we got video on demand. I'm like, but we're like a media conglomerate.
Yeah.
You know, my music industry people, you follow them.
Yeah.
No. And then what happens? A little company like Netflix comes out of left pocket with Ted, who worked at Blockbuster, who was smart enough to say that we need to do this. And then everyone else followed suit later.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think that there's just going to be there's going to be room for all of that in our, and we definitely need to, this is the book thing, lack of knowledge, you know, go and find out what it's about, make sure you know what it's about, but don't be fearful of it, because even though that they can recreate my stuff, even when I gave them a few lines, I'm like, none of what I would really say in my descriptions in my script is in this in this AI script. Right. Because that's not how it's like a film theory thing, you know, when you dissect something to understand how they did a script and see the theories that went behind that. Yeah. That came from a person that lived that mentality. Right. So, you know, that's my 2 cents on it, you know.
What about you? Yeah.
I agree with like the not being fearful of AI.
So I should stop being scared.
Well, here's the thing. I think that every iteration of every technology that has come forth, whether it's, you know, music related or television related or film related, over the last forever, which is forever, you know, technology scares people because we don't understand it. Right. And, you know, when LimeWire and Napster became a thing and people were downloading music for free, people were like, no one is ever going to be able to make money making music again. This is the end of the music industry. It wasn't. We adapted. Right. You learn how to work with the technology, not against it. Now, are there scary elements of AI? Sure. As it applies to television, film, and just general creativity, I think Gina nailed it. Like, you cannot recreate a human heart. Like, you know, who you are at your core, your life experiences, your soul cannot be replicated. And so that human element will never be able, I don't think, to be able to be replicated through AI. I think that what will be great is when those two things can work in tandem. And we can find ways to share and tell stories in more efficient and meaningful ways, in ways that are impactful, and ways that allow people who maybe didn't have a voice before to have a voice. And I think that those possibilities exist with AI. I mean, like, robots are scary. Like that. I mean, like, I mean, like, when
I feel like nobody wants, you know, George Jetson. I feel
nobody wants to live through. Nobody wants to live through iRobot. But no, I think that you know, approaching AI with a healthy interest, and the desire to learn and know more, I think will benefit all of us. And I think in a few years we will be saying the same thing we said about, you know, streaming platforms and Y2K. Will be like, you know, it wasn't a big deal.
And never forget your power. If you are afraid of it, then don't support it. You know, we had a person in the audience who ironically was my professor, and they were really upset about, you know, the thing, and everyone was just moving on. I said, no, stop, like, let's address that. You know, and of course that comes from me, the mental health side, but I'm like, that's a real fear in the room. We don't want to sit there and say, well, you don't count. We need to listen to this person. It's because somebody that was on the panel has a company that's doing that. So they were upset, like, you know, you're getting ready to take away our jobs. And I said, this is the great place to talk about this. You know, let's talk about this. And the most beautiful thing I saw after the panel was that he was sitting there talking to them, and so that they can all feel comfortable and okay. That's what it's going to take, because I think a lot of what we see, sadly, even in these murders, that's another conversation for another day. These senseless murders is fear. It's fear of thinking someone else is going to do something, or this race is going to do something, and automatically, like, that's how we, you know, this projection is getting people to act out in ways that we shouldn't act out. So communication is everything, and even in these times of us already being very fearful of losing what we don't even really have since COVID. A lot of people are still trying to survive. So find other lanes, crochet, you know, find other things to do. My daughter said the best thing ever, and she said, well, it's not going to affect the plumber. I said, wow. Wow. You know, shout out to all the plumbers, right? Because, you know, it's like those jobs that people thought maybe like meaningless. Guess what? They're not affected. So, like, be looking into other arenas of things that you just have passion about that you don't think, you know, that's where your real money's going to come from anyway, that AI can't touch.
Yeah.
So they could have a robot come in and try to like fix my drain and
right. We in trouble if they
I'm like,
get that.
you ain't coming to my house. You're not coming in my house. If you don't, you know, you don't have a van that has some scratches, look like you've been doing this for a while, and your hands look a little jacked up. You're not coming in my house.
Right. That's
Yes.
That's awesome. Oh man, you guys got any questions for me?
So tell us, like, what prompted you to do your panel?
What prompted me to do this? Okay, first we're gonna start with Damien. All right, because Damien, he knows me. He knows how I am on set. He knows my Elly abilities and all. And one day Damien came to me and said, "Yo, Elly, we need to put something together. We need to do something." And
you told me that too.
Yeah, and I'm like, all right, well, yo, what's up? Because you know, sometimes if y'all know Damien, you know,
he knows talent. Yeah, that's what it is.
He got that.
Because he hears. He's got the golden ear.
You know, he's our AI.
Yeah,
actually. I'm gonna just
he
say
really
that. He's been there for a long time.
Damien's in the lab, like taking everybody's voices and like side hustle.
Yes, he is.
Create the Elly Show out there in Japan.
He's working all angles. So a lot of times when he says something, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like even to get into the industry, I got into the industry because of him. Because he was like, "Yo, I got a couple of days."
Brother
Yeah. So when he says something, it's best to kind of run with it, even if you don't got the full picture yet. Because he has it, so that's what prompted me to get into this.
Because in the beginning there was the word, and you know he hears that.
Yeah, and I ain't gonna lie.
He hears what?
Yeah,
the heartbeat.
He hear it. He hears that heartbeat.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes, he does.
So we love him for that.
And he'll be so calm about it, like, "Yo, sis.
Yeah.
I was thinking, we gotta put this together." But you know, focus on this.
Hear me out.
Right? Go ahead. Give it. Y'all know him, yo. So yeah, that's how our AI works, Damien. Yes, thank you. But yeah, that's who prompted me to do this.
That's
so I'm
good.
happy.
And what do you do? Like you also do music?
I'll do music. I work in the art department.
Are you a producer or an artist?
I produce. I do my own music. I write my own music, and we have a group. Me, Damien, and all of us. No, that's what I'm learning now. I just picked up the guitar.
All right.
So right now,
my father was a musician.
Really?
So yeah.
See, I just picked up the guitar, so now I'm trying to, get my strings on and whatnot.
Yeah,
kind of got a thing for strings.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Awesome. So yeah.
Track with the recorder.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, you can do the MIDI.
Plastic recorder.
Yes. The MIDI. What?
No, the little plastic recorder.
Oh, listen, I play a mean recorder.
Nah, me.
I crush that. You need some recorder in your band, I got you.
Okay,
I
thank you.
play a mean recorder.
For real?
Yes.
See,
I did not take my 4th grade recording lessons
for nothing, right?
Granted, no. I have a Yamaha.
That's what's up. That's what's up. That's what's up.
Yeah, and I work in set deck as well. I'm in the art department, so big up
you're
to set deck.
Yes, you're an artist.
Yeah,
very creative.
Yeah, so yeah, and I do set decorations. That's what. So
that's really good.
I'm out there doing that. I love it. I actually love it. Yeah, I started off working in sound with Damien. He got me doing in sound, and then I did a quick job with Barboza, and I got stuck in set day.
You're like, no, this is my world.
This is my world.
That's why you want to be a PA, because you want to feel all the different worlds and see like, okay, this one speaks to me because I like to be organized. I like to create props. I like to get props. I like to create. I want to do construction.
I saw in the IMDb, if I'm not mistaken, like you acted too. Did you do something? Yeah. With Tyler Perry?
No. Okay. My boy Segrin Phillips. Shout out to So Gorilla Films. He, when I came out the Turner building, I went into the trenches with my brother Seg, and literally like this brother was. We still laugh about it to this day. Like he had this laptop, this little Mac with like 2 drives taped together. Yeah. One camera, and I was holding his back to shoot stuff. I mean, I learned how to do what I had $7-8 million budgets to do with $5,000 working with my
Wow.
brother. And he, you know, but you know, when you start to spot talent, you push people, and especially because I come from the corporate side, you know the benefits of someone who works like him. He shoots, he directs, he edits, he does graphics, and he was a rapper. He was signed to Too Short back in the day.
Oh, wow.
So he parlayed a music. When I met him, he was like, I was managing some rappers from Mississippi, and he was shooting some stuff. So I, you know, like, hey, you know, I have another brother named GB. Shout out to him too. Who same thing. Like they're like a, you know, they got all these different hats. And but when you're a self-contained machine, you need to put out content, a whole full film.
Yeah.
And so he was working a lot on mine, and I was like, bro, like it's time. Like you could do this. And so he did this film called Proxy. And not only did he put me in Proxy, I'm kind of like a Law and Order detective.
Okay.
I channel my inner Mariska Hargitay from SUV, and I'm running in some heels, y'all.
Right.
Now the crazy part is I had lines.
Yeah.
But the guy that was standing in front of me with the lines left the film.
Oh, okay.
My bro was the editor. He just subbed up a whole nother guy, but now I'm not talking to him because he cut, you know.
Yeah.
So he had to take out my lines. But the beautiful thing is that my real brother is in it.
Yeah.
And my brother is a huge part of my mental health documentary. He walked through the fire in recovery, and to have my brother like behind me.
Yeah.
I'm like trying not to cry.
Yeah.
It was really a beautiful thing. So that was my first little acting thing. And then, you know, school projects. Now that I've been at Georgia State, I learned from the kids. I love being in class with these younger kids of my kids' age, and they're like, Miss Gina, we don't even know that you're that old, you know?
Right.
Because I'm like listening to Baby and Dirk, and I'm like, damn, you know lyrics to Dirk? What are you talking about? Yeah. I'm like, I'm still a hip hop head. I grew up hip hop up and down all day. So, you know, it's reinventing yourself. And I always say to the older generation, the ageism is a huge factor. And I didn't learn that until I walked out the building. After 40, you get literally they laid us off to give people half our age our job. Well, don't hate them. Just find another way. And there are some companies like. I mean, I even did like a UPS job overseas, and I had 50 bruises on my legs. But you know, ageism isn't a factor. Marshalls, they looked out. You know, when I was really struggling for a while, and having to get back on my feet after losing so much after COVID, you have to humble yourself. But at the end of the day, I know I'm getting off topic, but you know, you just have to figure. You have to understand that. You got to plan for the later. I think because I came from a lot of people getting killed in my life, a lot of people dying. I never looked like I was going to be that long in life. So but thankfully they have the power of now, living in the now. So it worked in my favor. But at the same time, you do have to dream further than that. And write it down. They say your vision board, things like that. Because that way you can see the possibilities and bring it. I'm very much energy and universal things that you can bring to yourself, you know, by speaking it into existence and praying on it. So, you know, I had to figure out a lot of that. So being in the trenches with Seg got me into the films, got me acting in front of the camera. He's already like, sis, I'm writing the next part. Cause you know, I'm from up north. I've toned down a lot, but you know, we like kind of gangster where I grew up.
It's instinct.
And you know, he's like, "You gotta bring that gangster back." Says, "You know, just be yourself, be yourself." I'm like, "Yeah, whatever," you know. But you know, it's so funny. My kids don't know my old life.
Wow.
And so you know, that's what got me in it. But it's hard because you know you're so used to being behind the camera. You're like, wait a minute, are you like showing there's a light hit me this way? You know, we're getting run out of time. So you got to shut all of that off.
Okay,
but I enjoy it. I'll probably put myself. I'll put myself in one of my own films for sure. I feel a lot more comfortable. I would have never felt like that hadn't I gone to Georgia State. And the first time I stepped foot on a theater stage, I didn't even know I had what I had in me, you know. But you know, Professor Reyes, Lorraine Reyes, Susan G. Reed, just recently Laura Hackman, all theater professors, really pulled out things. But the kids that I was in class with really helped me find this part of me. I love to do improv.
Okay.
But I've been acting a fool like that since I was a kid. So I'm like, this is improv.
Hey.
I've been improvising since I was
nothing.
little. You know, I remember having a sleepover, sitting at a table like this with my friends, and I was pretending I was Barbara Walters, and like they were like, "This is the most boring sleepover I've ever had." And I'm like
Right.
trying to be a journalist.
Right. That's awesome. Liana, you ever write
But
yourself
anyway.
in any projects?
Yeah.
Yeah?
So I have been in every show I've ever worked on,
Wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
but not on purpose.
Right.
There's always some kind of weird scenario, like in reality.
Yeah.
Like sometimes, for example, you need to go shoot a scene where, somebody has something going on, like an off hour, right? So
Okay.
you're following them they're gonna go have lunch, but it's at 3:00, and no one's in the restaurant, and it looks weird. So,
Here you come.
somebody
You gotta put you in it.
has to sit in the background and, do something,
Yeah.
eat spaghetti or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so I've, eaten spaghetti, had a hamburger,
Yeah.
been working on my computer.
Like, this is the best job ever.
And it's not.
This is funny.
Thankfully, it's not in focus.
Right.
But yes, I've been on camera, and I actually, at a certain point in my life, at a previous point in my life, I wanted to be an on-camera journalist, and I still have hopes and
That's
aspirations
awesome.
to hosting travel programming.
Okay.
I actually was really inspired to get into reality and documentary programming because of Anthony Bourdain.
Okay. Yeah.
And No
Man.
Reservations. That was sort of my first exposure to that world. And so I still, have that desire in my heart. And
Well, you're
I
going
hope
to Italy, so you should.
Yeah, you could. That's
that
right.
could
That's
be
your
your start.
opportunity
I
right
hope
there.
that at some point in my life that I will get the opportunity to do that. But yeah, I would.
Yeah.
I'm not against it.
Yeah. That's awesome.
It's fun, but I mean, I will say I enjoy the other side
more?
of the camera more, but there's still there's a lot to be said about this, and it's I'm having fun.
Yeah, you're great.
Y'all make some noise for that. Man. I like that.
Before we go,
Yeah.
I know I saw the producer.
Yeah.
Producer for me is like, okay, what is it?
Yeah.
It is Mental Health Month. May is Mental Health Month.
Okay.
And over the course of 3 years, we've been documenting a journey on the importance of getting at the front end of mental illness and mental health issues. And, they always say, check on your strong friend. 988 is a number now that they have.
988?
988.
Okay.
It's a hotline. It's not everywhere for mental illness or health issues. We're obviously seeing it as of just like a few days ago in Midtown. My condolences to all the families affected by that horrific event, and to the person that caused it, because I think that when we're shouting for help, the same thing happened with Nicholas Cruz back in Parkland. When we're shouting for help and it's obviously, and everyone's just turning a blind eye or not helping because they don't know how, and it goes on and on and on, it causes a sad explosion.
Yeah.
And so, sometimes we see people acting out certain ways and we'll just be like, I don't want to deal with
Brush it
that.
off.
But if you can't deal with it, find somebody that can,
Yeah.
because that's their person's cry for help that sometimes we don't listen to, and especially for our Black men, who suffer in silence the most. We need to get a village around all of our men, because we need you. I think women have been, I'm kind of like not all the way feminist, but we do need our men to be in positions of power and feel their self-worth and their and a lot of that is because of the mental stuff that men have been dealing with all the way since they were little, when they were told not to cry.
Right.
So check on your strong friend, keep an eye on people in your family, because I can't remember the name of the author at this moment, but he said, people don't deal with it until it hits home, and it will. It will. So if you see someone else acting a certain way, or you think they're erratic, and also think about for mental illness, there's a different way to go about handling them with police department. They have CIT, which is crisis intervention training, and make sure that they have it in your town. Officers are tapped out too. They come out of
That's true.
They come out of the service. This
true.
man that just did the thing was
Midtown?
military. He just came out of the Coast Guards, and he may have been dealing with anxiety from that. It doesn't make it right. It's just that we don't rally a good support system around our military or our officers at that.
Yeah.
They come out of this way of life of like killing people for no reason, and then
Yeah.
they get on these streets. And not all officers, because my ex-husband was Atlanta PD, and he was a great brother. He is a great brother. He's still around. He retired, but he came from the hood, so he knew how to deal with that.
Yeah.
That's where the officers need to come from.
Right,
Sorry, my stomach's
right,
growling.
right, but that's real.
Hire the officers that come from that community,
Yep.
so that they know how to deal with that community, and then make sure they have mental health resources, and even if it's in secret. So Mental Health Month, make sure you're looking at communities to see how you can help, and we will be putting out The Call, which is my mental health documentary that we've been shooting as a collective, including Damien.
Where can people
And
find it?
we're editing it, and then it'll be out. I've only seen the title because
Call.
I've already promoted some of it on Instagram,
Okay.
and so that's the only reason I'm telling, because you don't want to tell everybody what you're doing
That's facts.
until you do it. So
Facts.
yes, much love.
Yeah, but that's awesome. May is Mental Health Month, y'all, so y'all keep that in mind.
Peace and blessings
Yes.
to you and yours.
Yes, and this is what, a wrap now, right? This is a wrap. Okay, well, we about to end it off. Y'all make some noise for my beautiful guests. All right, we got Gina Barboza and Lina Sisinni.
You got it.
Okay, all right.
Yay.
I was scared, but we
Did
got
And
it.
shout out to Elly.
Okay, shout
in
out
the
to me.
building.
All right,
Thank
and
you
shout
for
out to
having-
Playback. Shout out to Simo.
Shout out, yes.
Hey,
to
thanks
Clarence.
everybody.
And we also had Yoda in the
Yoda.
building.
Oh, Yoda, yeah, we
Yes,
can't forget
Yoda.
Yoda is like the key piece to this, you know? So I want to thank y'all for another wonderful show, and see y'all next time.